Welcome back to Pulse. Today we are joined by Megan Taylor, who is Head of Creative at Lucky Saint. The boom in the non-alcoholic beverages industry has been well documented, and today we are going to dive into the societal shifts we are seeing surrounding the industry and how Lucky Saint lean into the challenger brand mentality to cut through. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, your role at Lucky Saint, a little bit about how the year's been going.
So, yeah, I'm the head of creative. I've been at Lucky Saint for 5 years this year, which in the world of Lucky Saint is basically forever. I think I was employee number 10. Now we're 60. So it's like changed so much over the last 5 years. It's been like an amazing journey. Before working at Lucky Saint, I worked for Camden Town Brewery. So I've been in beer for like nearly 10 years, I guess. But yeah, when one of our other colleagues moved over to Lucky Saint, I just thought, after meeting the founder, that it was just such an exciting like brand to work for. I think, like as you say, in cultural shifts towards not drinking so much, and it's just a totally different category to play in. So yeah, it's been going really well.
And what was that like from 10 people to 60, going through that dramatic
kind of like start up to scale up?
That must be quite exciting to...
So exciting. And like, to be honest, when I joined, obviously I thought it was going to be successful, otherwise I wouldn't have joined, but never did I think that we were going to be 60 people, to be honest. I thought it would be a slower build, but it's amazing. Like, the people that join now kind of are just... It just seems like a totally different business now. We were very kind of like... We probably had about 10 offices, like every WeWork. We worked in like a meeting room of Oaxaca's office for about a year. And now we feel like a very grown up business. And I actually feel just so lucky to be involved in that process. Like, it was probably quite a big risk of Luke to hire me so early on. Not many people hire like a senior creative when you're only like 10 people. But I think he really prioritised his brand and also wanted to have creative inside the business. So yeah, it's just been great to grow with them.
What's been like the most exciting some of the most exciting creative projects you've worked on while you've... The
pub has just been like, it was a bit of a labour of love, I can't lie. But so I suppose like after working in all these different offices, the ambition was to get a brand home. I think after working at Camden actually, and previously I worked at Selfridges, and it means so much more to the customer if they can come and see where you are. They like can buy into your brand and they can buy into what you guys are doing so much easier if they can visit you. And so for a while we were like, oh, what's that going to be? Is it going to be like, are we going to do like a blue office or, you know, whatever? And then the idea of a pub just seemed like the logical next step. So we basically looked at loads of different pubs, ended up finding a pub in Marylebone. And it had been closed down since before the pandemic. It was pretty grotty, to be honest, and I think we were quite optimistic when we took it on. Kind of gave ourselves 6 months to redevelop it, but like, it was such an amazing project for me to work on. Like, I was basically given the reins with Luke, our founder, to kind of like make it look exactly how we wanted to look, which was like not only an amazing challenge but a great responsibility for the whole team, because we were building an office. Like, before it had a restaurant in the top 3 floors, and then the landlord lived upstairs, and then we've made it so it's just a fully functioning pub downstairs, and then we've got the top 3 floors which are our office, so it's like where we go to work every day, and it is great.
So cool. It's quite like an unusual move, you know, for like a non-alcoholic brand, for example, to do that. What do you think you've learn from the ability to have a physical space and a pub that maybe you couldn't have done if you were just relying on maybe your office or packaging or branding or social, whatever it might be?
So much. I think like one of the first questions people say is like, oh, do you serve alcohol? And I guess like a big part of Lucky Saint is being inclusive. Like, we don't like demonize alcohol. Like, most people that drink Lucky Saint drink alcohol as well. And I think it's kind of just wanting to build this like very inclusive space where we have a really good range of alcohol-free options as well as options with alcohol. I think it's also, you know, for our sales team, it's an amazing asset to have, to bring people to show them what we're doing, rather than like taking them to a production facility or whatever. You know, they give them like a tour of the building and everyone's like working upstairs, whether we're, I don't know, doing brainstorms or like we have a roof terrace that people are having lunch on. It's just nice for people to be able to like come into the fold.
Yeah, when brand building, we talk a lot about world building, so it's that creating that environment that represents your brand that you can invite people into, and that's a perfect example of that. It's kind of the perfect experience of the brand you're able to capture in the pub, and then people can experience that the way that you want to express the brand.
And I think from experience of we have like some super fans that kind of come down, and they love the fact that they can like almost peek behind the curtain of like what's going on, and like the founder might come downstairs and they're like, oh my god, is that Luke? You know. But so having the ability to kind of show what we're about in a very kind of public facing way has been great.
That's interesting. Do you have quite like a open dialogue or open forum with people that come in that are fans of the beer? Do you like learn from them?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest reasons actually why we started thinking about a pub is like having this insight engine into drinking habits in like nowadays, because I think it's really not as black and white as people drink or people don't drink. And I think that's like one of the big things that we've seen at the pub. We've been able to identify trends that have been happening just by what people order at the bar. Even if like, I mean, a lot of people come in, don't even know about the brand. They just think, oh, it's a nice pub in Marylebone. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's got like loads of flowers on the front. It's not, unless you knew what Lucky Saint was, it's called the Lucky Saint, but you wouldn't know it was like a brand pub, for example. So yeah, that's been really, really useful.
What are some of those interesting sort of things? You know, is there any like behavioural things that you kind of like stuck in your mind? Like, oh, I didn't actually think about it in that way.
I think a lot of people like do what's called a zebra striping, so they drink like one on, one off. So you'd have like a pint of lager and then a pint of Lucky Saint. Basically, all of our team drink what we call as an Ollie Badman, which is one of our team's names, which is half a Lucky Saint and half a beer on top. So it's like a pint, but it's probably like 2.5%.
Because that small beer is a trend now as well, isn't it? Which is that,
so
it's
like
that 2.5. Yeah.
I think that's probably going to be, well, heard it here first, the next like a big trend next. I think people aren't bored of socializing in the pub. They just don't want to feel crap the next day.
Because traditionally you'd have like real ale is usually like 3.5. It's quite low ABV, and then all of these like the really craft beers came through, and you have 3 of those, and you've got a bit of a headache the next day. So it's probably it's going back to people wanting to like socialise and have fun, but not have those negative effects the next day, I guess is what people are seeking out.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess that led us into the wider kind of industry, and obviously like you guys have ridden or part of that wave of non-alcoholic beverages. Were you guys the first to really did Lucky Saint almost spearhead that kind of movement, or was it kind of almost it just happened in tandem when you guys launched?
I think Luke, our founder, basically didn't drink very much, and he would go out, and there's not like at that time there wasn't like an option that you were proud to order at the bar. It would be like, I'll have a Coke, I'll have a water, or like, oh, you've got a Beck's Blue, like fine. A lot of non-alcoholic beers were like quite full of sugar, and they weren't necessarily like a healthy option. And I think he just thought there's a market that for people that want to buy like a nice premium product that is like at the core is kind of socializing and not about like drinking alcohol, really. I don't know if we were the first, because I mean you've got like your Heineken Zeros, your Beck's Blues. Like in terms of a number one dedicated,
I feel like you were the first on draft that I saw in London anyway. And I remember that being a big thing for me, because going to the pub and being able to have a pint of non-alcoholic beer, it felt like you were still having a beer, and that was a real shift of like it kind of felt like even in like dry Jan when I wasn't drinking, you could still go to the pub and it wasn't just like a bottle of beer. It was actually a pint, which was quite.
We hear so much of like people really wanting Lucky Saint on draft more. Like I love it when I go to a pub that's got it on draft. I'm like, this is great. In their head, they're not. They don't think that that's necessarily what customers want, but it's actually kind of incremental sales, because people will be buying that instead of water, instead of Coke. They're not buying it instead of another beer. But yeah, it's kind of just getting that cultural shift more and more in terms of draft. But we're getting there.
And you're getting pushback from the pubs, or?
It's not necessarily pushback. I think like we're an expensive product, we're a premium product, and I think we have to sell enough beer for them to justify having us on draft. So I think like if you don't have very many taps in your pub, that's quite a commitment to do that. But like generally, it's received incredibly well. And yeah, we've only like heard positive things really.
Yeah. And you touched on earlier with small beer, like what are the, I guess on a kind of macro level, what are like the biggest trends you're seeing within like the alcohol industry from your side, being like in it on a daily basis? Like what are the things that, obviously we talk about like the societal shifts that are happening with people drinking maybe less and wellness and things are blowing up. Is there anything that you're seeing around that in on your side that's really happening?
When you look at like soft drinks, for example, lots of kind of like functional benefit drinks. So lots of like protein, probiotics, electrolytes, all of that sort of thing. People like want more from a liquid, not just it being like a lime soda. It's like if they're having a lime soda, they want it to also be good for them. Like Trip have done such an amazing job with their like CBD sodas. They're like taking the world by storm. And I think that sort of drink is going to be the thing that people are going to want next, like something that is beneficial functionally for them.
And is that the new product that you guys have launched has electrolytes in it, right? So I guess that's playing into that sphere. And what is that? The electrolytes, is that supposed to, you can take it if you after like you go for a run, or is it supposed to like link more to performance, or?
Yeah, a bit of both really. Like I think when we were doing lots of customer research before, and general market research before launching, I think people just, like I was saying, they like want more. And when we've got 5 core beers now, and we were like, oh, what could be next? Like we don't want to just keep bringing out like different fruit flavored beers. So I think electrolytes is the most kind of obvious one to go down, mainly because sea salt beer is a beer style anyway. And I think we don't, as like a beer brand, we don't want to move away from being a beer brand to like a soda brand. Like we are a beer brand first, and then kind of whatever next. I think in terms of electrolytes, obviously we have gained this amazing community of people that have a very active lifestyle. And so we've been able to get like lots of first-hand research from them, and so many people are taking electrolytes now. I think it's like a bit of a misconception that it's just for kind of athletes. It's so good for so many other things like cognitive function, general like hydration, sleep. So it's got sodium, magnesium, vitamin C.
Nice.
I guess like creatively, like almost like expressing that new sort of brand as well. It's not, you're not coining it as like a healthier option. It's not like a health beer, is it? No. So it's like, it's more still within your same world that you're in, right?
Yeah. It's like beer first, but then like you would have, I guess, like beer with a dash of lime. It's just got this kind of additional benefit too. And I mean, like there's so much to say that electrolytes, like I was saying, like everyone just thinks, oh, if you're a long distance runner, use electrolytes, but I think like we could all do with a few more electrolytes day to day. Yeah, it's good, isn't it? And I think also with this product, I think I've been drinking it like with lunch. It's like a great midday drink, whereas like before, we've always thought, oh, wouldn't it be great for Lucky Saint to kind of be in a meal deal or something? But from like a cultural point of view, it's quite hard to get people over that mind shift of drinking beer with lunch, even though it's alcohol free. So yeah, hopefully that'll be a big one.
Yeah, I guess it's just innovation within the industry, right? And I guess that innovation probably needs to happen a little bit more as the behaviours of people and how they're drinking is shifting, and what people want from a product is probably shifting as well. And that probably comes from, when you look at Buzzball, for example, like that's an alcohol product, but what they shifted was the way it was consumed. They put it into like, a shot kind of flavour. They had like lots of different flavours behind it. So I guess that innovation came through a different way. Yeah,
I think they also, what's really clever about them is that they are also very locked into their audience, and they know that it's a very aesthetic product. Like nobody's pouring a Buzzball into a glass. I think a lot of drinks brands are like, oh, success is kind of like seeing it on the floor in the bus stop, and you know exactly what it is when you see it. And I think they've done such a good job. Like I just saw the giant ones. We were talking about them yesterday. Everyone's like, how do you drink that? Do you like put it in a glass with ice?
You're just signalling at that point, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a birthday present.
That's it.
And it feels there's a real emphasis on, I guess, wellness. I think is one space, but also like connection and community within that. And I guess that is where alcohol does play a role of like, you know, the pub and bringing people together and socialising. I guess that's what's, I think, brilliant about Lucky Saint is like you want to champion the social aspect of drinking, but without the after effects, fundamentally.
I mean, one of our like main core messages, like we believe more about the social, like, you know, like drinking is about the social collection rather than the alcohol. I think that we did this report earlier in the year that 1 in 3 pub visits is alcohol free, which I think is actually really interesting. Like people still want to go to the pub even though they're not drinking. So it's kind of down to the hospitality industry as a whole to look after these people as well, instead of just it being like tap water or lemonade or whatever. And I think we're seeing a lot of demand for kind of like different sort of activations within pubs. So rather than them just being where you go and like chat with your mates, whether it's like a run club or a chess club, or you go for like a hike and then you go to a pub, or I mean, like I remember when I first moved to London after uni, everyone used to do like the pub quiz. And I feel like that sort of thing is really coming back again. It's like people want other things to do that rather than just like sit around in the pub.
And not just on a Friday night, on a Tuesday night or a Monday night. And if it doesn't involve alcohol and having a hangover, then you can do that midweek as well, can't you? Yeah. And I guess from an alcohol industry perspective, do you feel that alcohol brands need to do more to adapt that to that consumer behaviour, to like wellness and things like that? Do you think there needs to be a shift that happens from a wider lens?
I think they're probably struggling too, to be honest. Like I think a lot of these big brands also have kind of alcohol-free alternatives, but it's hard to give everything the equal love. You know, like if you're a massive company, you're going to spend the majority of your advertising money, I imagine, on what makes you the most money. So I think Peroni Zero is actually a really good example. Like they have been sponsoring the F1, like Guinness Zero sponsoring Six Nations. These are like events which are usually with alcohol. So the fact that they're doing that is like a great thing for the category. So I think any work that they're doing towards like normalizing this behavior is like actually really good for us as well. I think like Guinness Zero has been like such an amazing success story, I think. And it just shows, you know, like Guinness as a brand is amazing, but it just shows that they still want to drink Guinness if it doesn't have alcohol in it.
And you've obviously been from 10 people to 60 people. Lucky Saint is very much a challenger brand. And with that kind of comes the challenger mindset. And I guess you guys, you have to do things differently from a Heineken, you know, and it's that classic case of probably what Heineken are doing, you want to do, not the opposite, but you want to kind of differentiate within that as a challenger brand. Talk a little bit, I guess, around that kind of challenger mindset and what's in the DNA of the brand that helps you to kind of stand out and cut through. Yeah,
I mean, obviously we could talk about budgets, but why bother? So there's obviously that element to it. Like we can't sponsor the F1, like that's not going to happen. So I guess it's just like looking outside of big events and big partnerships that we can do. I think also being a dedicated alcohol-free brand really does allow us to activate in places that brands that have alcoholic counterparts can't. So for example, though we've sponsored the Hackney Half Marathon for the last 3 years, that's been so great and has been great in helping us build our community of active lifestyle people and runners. But like they wouldn't partner with an alcohol brand, for example, because that's just not what they're about. Same, we're doing this activation with Lime Bikes next week. They wouldn't also be able to do anything with an alcohol brand because obviously you can't cycle drunk, and they don't want to be able to be, you know, they don't want to be showing that. So I think it's kind of just looking outside of places where we can be smart in terms of like who we partner with or what media we're using that other people can't. I mean, January is a really good example of that because people drink the same amount of Lucky Saint in the summer as they do in January, but January just is our like cultural moment. So it gives us the ability to have like the cut through, whereas like if we were activating throughout the World Cup, like there's a million beer brands everywhere that are doing that.
And yeah, how do you find the right partnerships? Obviously you did the Hackney Half, and you said you're doing Lime Bikes. And from my perspective, knowing the brand quite well, it kind of those feel really right. But then how do you, I guess, what does the brand represent, do you feel? And then how do you find those opportunities that you feel right to leverage and partner with?
And also with that, if there's any things that you've like had to say no to.
It's hard actually, because I think as you grow, more people want to partner with you. And I think especially the kind of food and drinks world is quite small. A lot of people know each other and they're like, oh, wouldn't it be great if we did like this flavoured beer or this? And sometimes you have to look at the bigger picture and just be like, okay, the way that I generally look at it is probably from an audience point of view, and think like, do our audiences align? And also, are we kind of like partnering up? What can they get from us and what can we get from them? Not to make it like transactional, but I think if your values are the same, like we're a purpose-led brand, and I think that's like a big thing for us as well, in terms of we wouldn't probably partner with like a huge corporation or anything, but I think it's like a match in brand values. Like, do we think our customers would be like, oh, that's such a great partnership, or would it unlock a group of customers that we think would be great for Lucky Saint that maybe don't know about us already? But I don't think there's anything that we've like that would have been a really good opportunity that we've said no to yet.
And do you feel like partners can, I guess, like almost push the brand in a positive way? Like you could partner with somebody that would help you that would maybe unlock something creatively that you wouldn't traditionally do, like something like a Liquid Death. Not saying you would partner with them, but you know, some brands like that that are quite disruptive. And then do you see that as like a route of, I guess, in a wider lens of brand partnerships? Like tactically, how do you feel those partnerships can help from a creative perspective?
I think they can be great. Like I think also in the world of like the way that everyone consumes media now is so fast, people just expect more from brands all the time. So you see so many more like talent partnerships, brand partnerships. It's not just like, oh, I love that brand and I'll be loyal to them forever. The consumer is always looking for like what's going to be the next thing. So I think often the unexpected ones are the ones that always like cut through, and that are really interesting. I think, I don't know, like who my dream partnership with, like we always talk about it as a team. And I mean, Glastonbury, I would obviously love to partner with. Let's have a Lucky stage at Glastonbury. But I suppose our new product, like the lime and sea salt lager, it's kind of skewed towards a slightly younger audience, which may allow us to kind of activate or partner with different brands or in different events. We're selling on TikTok Shop for the first time with this one because it's kind of a slightly more younger product. So I'm excited to see how that goes, because our core audience, we have a really broad audience demographic, usually probably around like 30 to 55 male is the way that it skews. So I think the lime will kind of unlock hopefully a more female audience. I think there's like a big girls that drink, like don't want to drink beer, but they kind of want to go to the pub, and what else can they drink? So yeah, hopefully that will be a good one as well.
That's really interesting with TikTok Shop. And so you're obviously trying to utilize just new kind of like e-commerce tactics within that, and then obviously you've got the physical on trade kind of stuff. And how does that balance between the kind of e-com versus on trade? How do you kind of split those kind of tactics?
We still spend like a lot of money acquiring new customers on Meta and Reddit. We just tried. TikTok's a funny one. It's like doesn't sit very like naturally for me. I've had to kind of like loosen my creative reins a little bit because you have this whole affiliates program which is totally uncontrollable, and you know, but I mean it's going to be great learning, and I'm really interested to see what happens. I've heard like amazing success stories. Wild. I mean
it's amazing.
Yeah.
It is quite unhinged, isn't it?
Yeah, and the like live element to it, where it's a bit sort of like QVC sort of situation.
I feel like that's just going to continue to like develop and get more and more sophisticated. I think, you know, probably in like 3 years time you're probably gonna have a QVC style from the Lucky Saint pub or something.
Do you know what? Someone's already said
Oh,
that.
really?
And they're like, I'll do it. I'm like, you know, you have to stand up in front of a camera for like 4 hours selling beer.
So yeah, say like it's like emergence of like Friday night TV, isn't it? And
Yeah.
it'll get like the production's going to get higher.
Yeah.
I mean, live is a super interesting thing in general. We obviously saw like Justin Bieber with Coachella, and I've seen a lot on like the how artists are introducing live more from a community building perspective, and even from a kind of brand perspective. It's a new way of engaging with your audience and telling a story, I guess. You guys are quite social heavy, aren't you? That's kind of a main communication channel for you.
Yeah.
Like, tell us a little bit about, I guess, your approach to your social channels and strategy. Like, how do you kind of balance that and cut through?
I think that we have tried so many different things from the beginning. We kind of have done lots of social events and things like that. But then I think what is the thing that really works for us now is people. And whether that's people that come to the run clubs, people that come to the pub, our team, we do a lot of stuff on our team on social. And I think it's like people seeing who you are as a brand is really effective. I know from brands that I follow, like obviously it's lovely to see lovely videos, but you're kind of following on social media for the social element. So I think that's a big thing. We've just hired a new social media manager and she's amazing, and she is actually a content creator herself. So it's actually been really interesting to get her like vision on all of it as well, because she kind of comes from a different angle of being a creator herself rather than working inside the brand.
And do you guys, influencers must be part of the that strategy as well? Like, how do you find the right influencers? How do they integrate into? Would you get people to come to like the run club, for example, or do you kind of integrate them into the pub and like wider things that you've got going on?
Quite a lot of the time, we're quite lucky in that influencers are already like fans. I think it's probably quite common with lots of brands. Like, you want to work with influencers that already like you, rather than, I mean, you know, we've all been scrolling on Instagram and like someone's just flogging a product and you're like, I know that you don't like that, you know. And for me, I just think that's quite jarring when you're kind of interacting with a brand and it doesn't feel genuine. So I think, yeah, definitely like our running community, we've got lots of influencers in there, and people, friends of friends, I guess, friends of our existing influence. We've kind of got a good sort of body of influencers that we work with now and then if we've got like certain campaigns. And we've had, like, last year we had a supper club where we invited lots of influencers, so like getting to know people in the foodie space and kind of just like keeping in touch. But we do it all in-house, and we've got our own influencer manager, which I think is really good as well. Like, we have tried to do it through agencies before, but I think as a small brand it's actually really nice when influencers can be communicating with someone that's actually like inside the brand rather than feels a bit more authentic.
And as you said there, it's authenticity is the key piece in that, isn't it? Because you can have a load of influencers you're handing product out to, but if that feels unauthentic, that's where it can fall flat. So I guess from what I can see on your channels, that comes across of like everything feels very curated, everything feels very intentional, very authentic. So that really comes through in the brand. And a lot of people are also talking about like unique brand assets at the moment, and how you obviously like the effectiveness side of like how you're building your presence through that consistent message. And I think the out of home ads are a perfect example of that, like the Rankin photo shoot. I guess tell us a little bit about that tactic of, I think that's been running for 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, the assets themselves are 6 years old. I think we've run them now for the last 4 years. I think as a brand you have a tendency to be like, we need something new. Every year needs to be something new. I think especially when our brand awareness was a lot lower, it was just really important to be like hammering the same thing all the time. I think like compound creativity is really important. You need to have like recognizable assets, and I think especially like as a creative, it's hard to just be like, oh, what are we going to do with this year's budget? Or let's like run the same stuff again. But it is really important. I think our like Saint has become such an amazing asset for us, and that wasn't the intention when it was first shot. And I just feel like she's going to be with us forever. It's funny, I actually ran into her at at Freeze Art Fair, and I just like accosted her and I was like, oh my God, I look at you every day. She was like, whoa, but she's a big fan. She comes into the pub and stuff, and yeah, she's great.
Have you got is that like a lifetime contract you've got with her, or is
No, we have to pay her every year.
Yeah.
But no, it's great. And we're often like, should we shoot some more saints, or should we kind of, I mean, right now, no, but like never say never.
So it's almost like, what's the evolution of like that storytelling moment that you've got there? Is that something that you're like thinking about, and
definitely.
like what could that
Especially
potentially
for next January, I think. Every year we've kind of done like a bit of an evolution of the year before. So we kind of, this year we kind of went back to all the shots from the shoot like 6 years ago, and actually worked with some different shots that we hadn't used before. So they are like, it's a slight different from year on year. We use like different copy lines, but I think, you know, you look at these big brands, I don't know, great Guinness is obviously a great example. I think about like Cadbury's, Kit Kat, Coca-Cola, and their brand assets like stay strong throughout the whole of their brand like life, really. And obviously there are like layers on top that you can change, and in January we ran like a couple of additional campaigns on top of what we were doing in the underground, where you can kind of like redeem free pints in pubs and things. But I think in terms of that kind of broad brand awareness piece, it's important to stay consistent, because you forget that so many people don't know who you are. You know, it's very easy to be inside and being like, everyone knows who we are, but they don't.
But it's also, I think it's also an art of like cadence as well, because if you run that ad all year round, people get sick of it, or they'll be like, this is a bit too much. But because it's every January, it feels like it's enough. You give it enough space so that when you do use it, people recognise it rather than get annoyed at it. And I think that's the key thing, isn't it? It's that, because I remember, not remember, it happens all the time on YouTube, when you see ads and then you see the same ad, and then for that month, for whatever reason, you're targeted, and you just constantly start seeing it. After a few times, you're like, I don't want to engage with that brand anymore. But you guys play it very well. We're just doing it in that period.
Generally, we use it on the London Underground, and I think it looks really good on the London Underground because it's dreary and glum, and often they're like backlit and it looks really gorgeous, but it doesn't work so well on. We don't really use those ads on social, for example, because they're just not as dynamic. So I think it's thinking about like what media you're going to use where, and how people will see you at different points of their journey throughout their January.
You're very intentional with it then, which is I wouldn't say that's kind of the same for all brands, who sometimes will just pick an asset and then just splash it over all of their different touch points.
I think because our budgets aren't big, so like you have to be intentional. I think we have obviously like a certain media budget for January, and I think, you know, like my job really is to critique what's going to work best where, and I think it would be the easy option to put something like that over everything, but that's not going to work on a, I don't know, if we're doing like a struck card on the on a bar saying get a free pint, for example, people won't see a picture of a saint and really understand what that even means. So I think it's about at what point your customer will see which piece of media.
And just finally, community, because you said earlier, you know, you have super fans, and I feel like Lucky Saint is a brand that has a very strong, tight-knit community. And that's something that every brand wants to cultivate, and you've obviously done it quite well. Like, how have you cultivated that community, I guess, fundamentally? Like, what does community mean to you as from a brand perspective, and what do you think brands could be doing better in how they actually create a real community rather than maybe one they're just talking at?
Oh, good question. I think we've been very generous when we were small. I think we always like talk to everyone and go and make friends with everyone, and you know, like we'd go to events that we wanted to be activating at but we couldn't afford it, and we'd like make friends with the right people and things. And I think with the active lifestyle community, they have been incredibly generous to us as well. Like I think they're very loyal, and that's been really good for us. I think the sober community also have been great. I mean, we don't like, as I said before, like a lot of people that drink, like you're saying, also drink drink alcohol, but a lot of sober people drink Lucky Saint too. And there are so many kind of like sober forums and podcasts, and they've always been like really great with us as well. We kind of try and be quite personal about things. Like, for example, we have a Facebook group that we use, like, which our social media manager runs, which is like, tell us where you live and we'll tell you the nearest Lucky Saint draft account to you, because I think people find it difficult to find us on draft, and as you were saying, like, people really want to have a pint of Lucky Saint. So even things like that have been really good. It's like very good also to be able to get like first-hand conversations with customers to kind of understand where we can like build these communities further. So I think, yeah, we're always kind of like trying to build more, to be honest. But no, the running community especially have been like really amazing for us.
That's something you're going to continue, I guess, to build and invest in. From a cultural pillars point of view, is that like, is wellness, sport, music you touched on, are they kind of the main pillars that you focus on?
I think like the pub, to be honest, is like the main community. Like as I was saying before, we are like a beer brand, and first and foremost a lager brand, so like very like accessible, and then whatever you can do from that pub. So like whether it be a run, whether it be a gig, whether it be a quiz, trying to kind of like build communities within that space. Yeah,
makes sense. And then finally, is there, I guess, evolution of the brand? You've just launched a new product, which is very exciting. Is there, you might not be able to speak about everything, but is there anything like, what's kind of the next steps from a brand lens over the summer? Is there like a lot of stuff going on?
Yeah, so this summer we are doing less events than we did before. We're going to be working with lots of like foodies, but you'll still see us around. So we're activating a lot around the marathon and around Hackney Half. And then, yeah, thinking about what is next. Like, what more do people want from alcohol-free beer? And there'll be a big focus on lime for the summer, I think. It's the perfect summer drink for like the park.
And you said it was a little bit more focused towards, I guess, like women as well,
Yes.
and younger sort of demographics as well, which is almost like a completely new territory.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's like a big education piece in that way, because a lot of time, back in the day, we used to do lots of sampling events like beer festivals. They weren't the highlight of my life. Quite a lot of the time you'd just get abused by middle-aged men telling you they didn't want alcohol-free beer. But a lot of the time women would be like, oh, I don't like beer. And then you're like, oh, have you ever tried it? And they're like, no, I just know I don't like it. And then, for example, they'd try the lemon lager and they'd be like, oh, this is actually really nice. And so I think like it's the education around like not all beer tastes like cask beer. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what they think. So, yeah. Bring in the ladies.
Bring in the ladies. Nice way to finish it. Yeah. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.